The beef between 50 Cent and the game ran deeper than we initially thought. On the music end of things, it was the game going after 50 and the unit with his G Unite and Stop Snitching campaign. On the street side, it was Jimmy Henchman, the game's manager, who was just thirsty for blood, so it was all-out war between both crew. When it was all said and done, the folks pushing the Stop Snitching campaign ended up snitching on each other after the feud between 50 and them led to multiple violent acts, including the hit on the G-Unit affiliate, Lodi Mack. Henchman's own trusted crew members ended up sealing his fate in court when they testified against him, leading to multiple life sentences. We now get the full picture of everything that transpired during those times through court transcripts and testimonies from Henchman's own hitters, which I'm gonna break down thoroughly and use to fill in all the missing pieces that were never made public. It's a lot of 50 documentaries up here with folks just slapping around clips together of what they heard or seen. This ain't one of them. No. This top tier research right here. I got the official full 886 page court transcripts. So trust me, you'll be hearing all facts. No he say or she say. Let's get to it. Back in the early 2000s, when 50 burst into the scenes, flooding the airwaves with his gritty mixtape, G-Unit was a force to reckon with. G-Unit on the music side was initially 50 Cent, Tony Yayo, and Lloyd Banks, all from the Southside Jamaica Queens neighborhood. 50 debuted his first official release, Get Rich or Die Trying, in 2003, with hit single In the Club on rotation everywhere. In that video, there was a guy that stood out because he had that West Coast swag. That was the game. He was still in the background under Dr. Dre, whose beats are all over 50's album. The game had a situation with Dre, but Dre didn't have the right moves for him at the time, so he pushed him over to 50 since the unit had the East Coast on lock. At the time, Tony Yayo was going in for a weapons possession charge he took for the team when they all got booked on December 31st of 2002 for guns and vests they found in the car they were riding in. Dr. Dre thought it would be a good idea to add a West Coast artist to the mix, since they had just added Young Buck, who's from Tennessee, representing the South. Throughout the year 2004, the game began working on his debut studio album, which was set to be executive produced by 50 Cent and Dr. Dre. The first song he appeared on was Certified Gangster with Jim Jones and Little Eazy-E, but the song wasn't really radio friendly at the time, so it didn't go far. His debut single off the album was West Side Story featuring 50 Cent. That put him in the light, but the game changer came on November 23rd of 2004, when the album's second single, How We Do, featuring 50 Cent, became a top 5 hit, as did the third single, Hate It or Love It, which peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, being held back from the top spot by 50 Cent's single Candy Shop featuring Olivia. The game's name is now buzzing and people are anticipating the album to drop. At the time, Game was under Czar Entertainment, a management company ran by Jimmy Henchman.
What differentiates you or Henchman from cats like Leo, Russell, Kadaz?
You know, one of the things you gotta remember about these music dudes is that a lot of these music dudes don't have no principles and no backbones. A lot of these dudes, man, is able to cut. They're ready and able to compromise their principles to get in positions that they're in. And that's one of the things that we refuse to do. We will not compromise our integrity, our principles, or nothing. You know what I'm saying? We ain't letting, we just ain't doing it. We just ain't, we ain't bending backwards or frontwards for nobody, not for a check. I'll let this place close down before we compromise any of our principles. You know what I'm saying? So, just like how they have that saying, death before dishonor, you know what I'm saying? That's our slogan, man. Death before dishonor.
Jimmy was a low-key old-school gangster who ran a large-scale drug operation in the city at the time. He was also in the music business. Jimmy was the definition of a 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of guy. Let's break down Jimmy's empire structure. Pay attention to some of the names of his underbosses because I'll be using some of their court statements to fill in all the gaps. Muhammad Stewart, aka Tef, Jimmy's top henchman. He was around for a lot of the action. Khalil Abdullah, he was a shipper and seller of narcotics. He was the first to be truthful in a drug case. Jason Williams, he was a money carrier and also Jimmy's personal driver. Brian McLeod, aka Slim, he was the guy who befriended Lodi Mack's bunkmate and ultimately set him up. Jimmy at the time had a feud with Chris Lighty, who was managing 50 Cent. Chris Lighty's Violator Management Company was a direct competition with Jimmy's Saw Entertainment Company, and he even went as far as setting up his office almost across the street from Lighty's office on 25th Street in Manhattan. Jimmy, seeing the success that the game had generated before his album dropped, started getting into the game's ear, letting him know he could be bigger than 50 Cent. Henchman started conflicting 50 when he started releasing Game's record while 50 was structuring his G-Unit roster drops. Tef confirmed this in court.
What was your understanding about what that problem between Jimmy and G-Unit was about?
Jimmy dropping some records early when 50 was trying to release his artists.
Whose records?
The Game's.
Why did it matter to 50 if Jimmy dropped those Game records?
Because he's trying to get his money first, recoup his money off his artists, and at the time he's building momentum for his team, and we are going to use it. Jimmy was going to use it for his. The Game's first album, The Documentary, dropped on January 18, 2005, and it became an instant success. It debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200, selling 586,000 units in its first week.
Now, who are some of the key people, man, that put you where you are right now?
Man, Dr. Dre, man.
Right.
That's it.
Damn.
50 Cent at the time had just crushed the whole Murder Inc., Ja Rule and Irv on the music side, and Preem on the streets. So when Jadakiss and Fat Joe jumped on the New York track with Ja to bring him back some life, 50 went at both of them, and Nas on Piggy Bank off his second album that is scheduled to drop first quarter of 2005. The Game, being the new G-Unit member with the Documentary album out that is buzzing, is asked about his thoughts about Fat Joe, Jada, and Nas beef, and he responds saying he would stay out of that.
I'm not getting into it.
You're not gonna get into it?
No. Jadakiss is a good friend of mine, and I've had a chance to meet and talk with Fat Joe on several occasions, and I think that they're perfectly good dudes.
50 caught wind of what was being said and immediately went on a press run denouncing the Game.
Let's talk about the G-Unit for a minute, 50. Yeah. Now, I read where you said Game was about to be dropped from Aftermath Interscope before you got involved. That's true?
Yes, it was absolutely the truth.
How did that transpire?
Creatively, the tires got stuck in the mud, and you know what I mean? So we actually got together. I recorded 6 records on Game's new album.
Right.
I did West Side Story, How We Do, Hated to Love It, Church for Thugs, Special, and Higher. You see what I'm saying? And he came back recently from overseas and was disrespectful, man. Like the way he's like, it's like he's feeling himself, like because of how well his record is selling.
Mm-hmm.
So I openly, I wouldn't expose what I did for the project, but I wrote those records. I created the concept of those records, and he rapped around it. He's a great rapper. He's not a good songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
There's a difference.
It's a major difference. You know?
Yeah.
And he says a lot of people's names for shock value. He says things he doesn't mean.
On February 28, 2005, 50 Cent is live on Funk Flex when he says the Game is no longer part of G-Unit. The Game and a few Black Wall Street guys went up to Hot 97 to confront 50, but they were met with shots at the front door.
Well,
We got it.
Let's shoot.
Go.
Make sure.
We going.
Wow.
Enough's enough?
Right now. All right.
It's Hot 97, Funk Flex. We focused.
Nobody. Flex, sorry about that.
Hey, it's okay, fellas. Hey, it's all great.
Henchman had sent Tef to go meet up with the Game for protection. He was about to join the mob when sparks started flying towards the crowd. Here are Tef's statements.
How did you come to be at Hot 97 that day?
Jimmy called me and asked me to escort Game up there, meet Game up there. He wanted to talk to 50.
Who wanted to talk to 50?
The Game.
Did you go there?
Yes.
Who was there when you got there?
When I got there, Game was there with a whole bunch of California dudes, and 50's trucks were parked outside, and they were upstairs.
What happened when you came to Hot 97 that day?
As I was walking down, got onto the block, I see a large crowd in front of the building, and I see a hand come from the doors and started shooting at the crowd that I was going to meet for no reason. Just fired shots into the crowd from 50's entourage.
You said there was a hand out of a door. Do you see the door on this picture?
He confirmed it. Hot 97 door. Whoever was downstairs, the mysterious hand, who is still unknown till today, let off a shot towards Game and them, hitting one of Game's homies, New Jersey Devil. Tef says the Game was teary-eyed and shook up after the incident and wanted something to happen. So Tef took it up on himself to wait at Violator's office, but seeing that nobody came there, shot up the building. According to Tef, Henchman was not too happy about the Game using his guys for free. He made him pay for that.
Did anyone order you to do the shooting at Violator Records?
No.
Did you talk to anyone about the shooting afterwards?
Yes.
Who did you talk to?
I spoke to Jimmy.
What did you say to him, and what did he say in response?
I don't remember the whole conversation, but it was more or less that he said, don't be doing that stuff for them dudes, and don't be doing that stuff for free.
My whole thing to Game was, if we do this, if you do this, we fuck hip-hop up. And it's hard for me to say that, because I come from the streets too. For me to look at Game and say, dude, you shot your friend, but don't do anything.
On March 3rd, 2005, 50 drops his second album, The Massacre, which debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200, selling 1.15 million copies in its first 4 days and staying atop the chart for 6 weeks after its release. It was scheduled to release back on February 15th. The original title for the album was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, but Interscope wasn't interested, so Fifth leaks Disco Inferno to force their hand. It became an instant success. Nobody at the time was doing those type of numbers in any music genre, so that automatically put 50 at the top of the game. Piggy Bank. The track was causing a lot of commotion, and all the people he had dissed are now throwing back shots. And now Fifth and his West Coast protege are beefing. So the controversies helped generate a huge buzz around the album. Fans, they're a bit skeptical about the timing of things though. Some were saying the beef was a promotional stunt, but the OGs like the Rev Run and Russell Simmons, they knew better. Shots been fired. It ain't no promotional stunt. It's real. And in order to change the negative narration in hip-hop, Rev Run and Russell Simmons, they set up a meeting calling for a truce on the 8th year anniversary of Biggie's passing on March 9th of 2005. Both 50 and the gang, they didn't look too thrilled to be there, but they still did it. That truce was short-lived though. They both had the 2 hottest albums in the game at the moment, and they're both doing interviews and press runs, and people are starting to whisper that the Game's album might be better than 50's, in which Game wasn't giving 50 any credit for all the songs he had helped them with on the album.
I'm not gonna say that he didn't help with the project, because he played a small part in the success of the documentary.
G-Unit is here, 50's here, and Game can be anywhere in between that and probably even bigger than that. And you can't suppress that. You can't suppress that with just G-Unit.
50's the type of guy that lives and believes in certain principles derived from the 48th law of power.
I heard you say once, you know, M's a general, but he knows how to be a soldier with Dre. You're a general, but you know how to be a soldier with M and Dre.
And that's just being conscious of yourself. Because, I mean, you know the laws of power, and you never outshine the master. Mm-hmm. If you got somebody that's actually over you in your chain of command, you always...
Law number 1, never try to outshine a master. Law number 15, crush your enemies totally. The Game finally lets his true feelings be known at Summer Jam stage that year in 2005.
Yo.
Game was feeling confident because of his ties to Jimmy Henchman and his strong team, so he went on a full-blown lyrical war against 50 and the unit. He dropped 300 bars, which I think should go down as one of the best diss songs of all time. This song and their beef basically split up 50's huge fan base at the time. The Game also started his G-Unit and the No Snitching campaign. He comes to New York and links up with Fat Joe in the BX, and also goes to Queens around 50's stomping ground, where a huge G-Unit poster is hanging in front of the building. We all assumed it was the Game's doing at the time, but he was just the face.
With this G-Unit stuff you took to the next
That's actually my first stop. I'm going to Queens to see about this G-Unit billboard. I heard it big.
So you're running with this?
I mean, I'm just going to see it. I don't know who did it. I'm just going to see it.
Oh.
We thought you did it.
We thought it was you.
The Game even went all the way to Connecticut to 50th Street, trespassing and creeping through the bushes in the neighborhood for a Stop Snitching, Stop Lying DVD that he put out that summer. All this was going on while 50 Cent was overseas, and 50 had a lot of beef coming his way now because of that diss towards Fat Joe and Jadakiss. Throughout the months that followed, both sides went after each other on numerous interviews and a lot of diss records back and forth, all of which generated huge interest in the media and more record sales. Controversy sells.
Shout out to Gaddafi and his sons for having us out Venice. You know, I appreciate the $500,000, baby. For 30 minutes, anytime, man. 747. I'm serious, man. You need to come play for my team. Hey, man. Hey, that Jimmy, man. See, that's why I don't like them old school niggas, man. I really don't like them old school niggas. Now, you know Jimmy told him to do that. God can't say, G-Unit.
On the surface, all we saw was the Game dissing 50, but now 50 is throwing in Jimmy Henchman's name in the mix, letting us know who was pulling the strings behind the scene. But I don't think people caught on back then. The Game dropped Doctor's Advocate album on November 14th, 2006 with the absence of Dr. Dre, who has to pick sides because of the back and forth going on. Doctor's Advocate debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200, selling 358,000 copies in its first week, making it Game's second #1 album on the chart. It was all just back and forth disses after the truce, and nothing more yet, till it came time for the Mixtape Awards at the Apollo Theater in December of 2006. Tony Yayo and Mazaradi Fox, another G-Unit affiliate, and about 20 other individuals bum rushed into the venue without stopping for security while Henchman was inside. Henchman went to approach Yayo on a friendly note, greeting him in Creole since they're both Haitian descent. He goes, "Sap passe," but there was no mabule. Yayo immediately pressed him about his guy Game. During the heat of the moment, in reading body language, Mozzie flashed the pistol at Henchman, asking, "What do you want to do?" But Yayo didn't give the call. Henchman was with Tef and Abdullah, and they managed to slip away through a back door of the theater. Tef had just beat his gun case the day before from an incident where Henchman had him stake out Chris Lighty's office, but police did a stop and frisk on him, and he ended up getting booked. So now he's right back into the action the very next day. For most of you who aren't familiar with Mazaradi Fox, he was a longtime friend of 50 Cent and also was a highly active individual in these streets, to say the least. While remembering Mazaradi Fox, this was how Yayo recanted the story on Vlad TV.
I told you pull the strap out in the Apollo, like with Jimmy Henchman, pull the strap out. Just wanna do, nigga. It's the Fox, nigga. He got the hammer out.
Here was Al Abdullah and Tef saw it.
Did there come a time when you attempted to shoot at Violator again?
Yes.
What year was that about?
Maybe 06.
How did it come to be that you did that?
Jimmy had asked me, then called it off and called me again. And I interpreted that he wanted me to do it again and went over there with Andre. He was parked on 26th Street, and as I was cutting through the alley, I was stopped randomly by police. I was put under arrest, I don't know why, until they searched and found a gun. In the car, which was on the next block over, they went back to the car, found a gun in the car, and it was kind of odd, but we were both arrested, charged with gun possession.
Were you involved in any conflict with G-Unit immediately after that gun case was dismissed?
Yes.
Just briefly, what incident?
We went, me, Jimmy, I think Courtney, and I think maybe Teddy. It was a long time ago. We went to the Apollo, and...
What's the Apollo?
The Apollo Theater in Harlem.
About what month and year was this?
It was the day after I won the trial. The pre-trial. Just got released.
About what year would that make it?
I'm thinking 06, late 06. I went and met Jimmy up there. It was mixtape awards being held there, and we walked through security. And behind us, we just hear real loud commotion. G-Unit bum rushed the doors, bypassed security. So we kind of knew why they were doing that. Jimmy was, I don't know who approached. I think they saw us. They stood by the stairs and Jimmy greeted one of them. Greeted Tony Yayo in a friendly manner in Creole. Qu'est-ce se passe? It's like, hi, how you doing? I guess. And he wasn't taking to it. He had an attitude and more or less pressed them. Like, what's up with your boy Game?
Who said that?
Tony Yayo.
What happened after that?
In an aggressive manner towards Jimmy. And it was, I don't remember the exact words, but it was more or less us going back and forth with them. We went upstairs. I tapped them, let's go upstairs. They eventually came upstairs. A mob of them, about 20 or 30 of them.
A mob of who?
G-Unit.
What happened upstairs?
Maybe about 20 or 30 of them. It looked like they tried to trap us off from leaving. One guy named Fox, Mazaradi Fox, tried to block off the entrance. The other 20, 30 dudes stood at the other exit. I backed up, grabbed a bottle, had it under my coat. He thought it was a gun. He walked away. We got out of there safely. I grabbed Jimmy, I said, let's go. We got out of there safely. Abdullah's statement.
What did you do after that?
We went to my car.
And who was the we who went to your car?
Me, Jimmy, and Tef.
What happened inside the Escalade?
Nothing. I was just like, wow, I can't believe that nonsense that just took place. I said, you deal with this type of stuff all the time? He was just like, that's all right, man. I'll deal with it later on. Who said that? Jimmy. I was like, well, I'm going to deal with it right now. I made a call, called Akbar. Told him to bring me some situations over. I had a problem.
What did you mean by that?
My guns.
Why were you asking for guns?
Because I intended on using them. Yayo and Mazaradi Fox made a crucial mistake. They showed their hands and didn't use it to a gangster with a lot of money and resources in the streets. It was on now. Yayo's Bentley got shot up that same night. A few days later, Diddy tried to broker a truce between Chris Lighty and Henchman, but the two started scuffling and Diddy had to break it up. Sometime after that incident, Tef testified about how 50 of them spotted Henchman at a restaurant and chased him down the highway, but he got away and he had to ship his cars to Miami to avoid detection.
Were there ever any attempted acts against Jimmy?
He told me about one.
What did he tell you?
That, well, I told you about, the Apollo. And he told me about a time that he was at a restaurant and he saw 50 Cent. And when he was leaving, he felt like they tried to ambush him. They were following him on the West Side Highway and tried to pull up on him. And somehow he got away.
Did he say anything to you about what, if anything, he did after that incident?
He got rid of the car that he was driving that they knew he would be in, and he sent it down to Miami.
50 Cent the rapper, he'll be known as 50 Cent the rapper, and 50 Cent the street legend will be known as 50 Cent the street legend. There's no comparison. To me, that's a great honor to know that I knew that person who influenced that. I'm not living the fantasy of the music business. I need to keep firm on the ground because I don't know when I'm gonna be banned from this game.
On March 24th, 2007, after all the back and forth and cat and mouse games, Yayo and Lodi Mack run into a kid wearing a Czar Entertainment hoodie by Henchman's office. It was 14-year-old Jabulani, Henchman's son. Tony Yayo slapped the kid, and Lodi flashed a pistol at him, all caught on surveillance cameras, sending a very, very strong message to his pops. This incident will change the whole course of this beef, because right after that incident, Jimmy had blood all in his eyes, and he wouldn't stop till he saw one of them in a coffin. He was personally involved in some of the get-backs against 50 and them. He wanted to get them legally on the streets and through music. On that same day, Chris Lighty's brother was slashed by Tef. Henchman didn't want to involve Chris Lighty because he felt like he didn't have anything to do with that. But Tef pumped him up, letting him know all bets are off now and it's personal.
What happened when you got to the office?
Walked in the office and I saw Jimmy, Teddy, and Jabulani. Jimmy was upset. Jabulani looked upset, he looked like he might have been crying, a little shaken up.
About how old was Jabulani at that time?
About 13, 14 maybe.
What did you learn happened?
That G-Unit had slapped him up, roughed him up, and pulled out guns on him.
Did you learn who, if anyone, from G-Unit was involved?
I heard Yayo and 50 might have been in the truck, but at that time that was, and some other street guys.
What happened when you got downstairs?
We were all talking, all just congregating downstairs. Somebody said, "That's Chris Lighty's brother walking past. Him and another guy." I spoke to Jimmy. I asked him what he wanted to do. If I remember right, he was like, I don't remember the exact words, but it was more like they didn't have nothing to do with it. And I just didn't agree with it. I felt like, and I explained to him that, they did that to your son. All gloves should be off.
What was Jimmy's reaction, if anything, when you said all gloves should be off?
He just looked at me and he just nodded. He nodded his head like in agreement. He got in deep thought. He just nodded his head in agreement.
What did you do next?
I asked him if he had a razor.
What happened?
He asked around. I think he might have got it from Lil D. He gave it to me, and I started to walk behind him, and he saw me walking up. Chris Lighty's brother saw me walking up on him. And as I swung at him with it, he flinched. I didn't get him how I wanted to, but I think I touched him with it.
Mr. Stewart, did you see Jimmy's attitude towards the feud in the G-Unit change at all during this time?
Yes.
What did you notice?
He was always upset.
Did you discuss with Jimmy a way that you were going to approach that rivalry with G-Unit?
Yes, he told me a way.
What was the way?
That he will deal with it with the law, with the streets, and through the media.
So let's start with the first one. Through the law. What do you mean by that?
That he was gonna have his baby mother press charges against him. Tony Yayo and Lodi Mack ended up getting charged for the assault. Yayo got probation and Lodi took the rap. Henchman had people outside sitting at the courthouse to catch license plates so they can get G-Unit affiliate addresses. Tef sheds light on a get back both sides were involved in. A lot of back and forth shootings and car bombings cause 50 and his team had bulletproof trucks. The targets were 50, Yayo, and Jalil Walters, aka Baja, or Monster. Monster was 50 top street guy and security at the time.
They already shot at Yayo at the Apollo, but luckily he was in his bulletproof truck beyond it.
On April 20th, 2007, Tony Yayo's mother's house was shot up.
Did you ever conduct surveillance of G Unit members?
Yes.
What did you do?
Go to their houses, get their phone records, get their phone numbers, and get their call list, incoming, outgoing call list. I would find addresses, go to their houses, stake out their houses.
Did you ever do that surveillance with anyone else?
Yes.
Who were some of the people you did it with?
Jason. I've done it with Jimmy, Andre.
Do you remember any particular times of surveillance?
Yes.
What do you remember?
I remember a couple of times I was outside Baja's house. A couple of times I was outside his sister's house. A time we went to Tony Yayo's mother's house.
Do you remember any times with Jason?
Yes.
What do you remember about the time with Jason?
A few incidents with Jason. One time we drove through Baja's block. We were staking out his sister's house. That was like their headquarters. Another time, we went to Tony Yayo's mother's house, looking for his brother, but we weren't sure. I never seen him before. I was relying on Jason to point him out. I was looking to shoot him, and Jason said he thinks that's him, but he's not sure. The dude stopped by the car, took a deep breath, and I told him I wasn't going to shoot an innocent person. I didn't want to make a mistake, so we just pulled off and kept going.
Did Jimmy ever talk to you how this dispute with G Unit will end?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He told me that these dudes ain't going to be happy until they're carrying a coffin.
I want to talk to you about a particular member of G Unit. I'm going to show you what is in evidence as Government Exhibit 32. Who is that again?
That's Monster, Baja.
Remind us. What connection did he have to G Unit?
That was Tony Yayo's road manager and 50's right hand, the street dude.
Did you ever commit or attempt to commit any acts of violence against Baja?
Yes.
About how many acts do you remember?
A lot.
What period are we talking about?
From...
What time period?
From about 2007 to maybe 2009.
Can you briefly list the acts that you remember?
I remember sending one of my homeboys to shoot up his house. Sending one to shoot up his sister's house.
Sending who? I didn't hear you.
One, the same homeboy to shoot up his sister's house. I remember being outside his sister's house one night after they tried to set up my barbershop on fire. I remember trying to blow up his bulletproof truck and shooting it up in the house. A couple of things.
Any acts involve Jimmy personally?
An attempt.
Let's go through those one at a time. You mentioned that you sent your homeboy to shoot up Baja's house. Who was the homeboy?
A kid named Life.
Where was Baja's house at the time?
In Staten Island.
How did it come to be that you got Life to shoot at Baja's house?
He was a friend of a friend, and he went and called him for me.
You also testified about sending someone to Baja's sister's house. Is that right?
Yes.
Who did you send to his sister's house?
Life. He went with Jason.
Whose idea was that shooting?
Jimmy.
You testified there was an attempted time that Jimmy was involved in.
Yes.
And against who was that done? The attempt.
Against Baja at his house.
The same house on Staten Island?
Yes.
How did it come to be that you went to Baja's house with Jimmy?
I don't understand the question.
Why did you end up there?
He told me to meet him there.
Who told you that?
Jimmy.
What did you do when you saw Jimmy in the Red Expedition?
Got in.
Did you start talking to him?
Yes.
What did you talk about?
Spoke about he wanted Baja's house shot up.
What did you do next?
Got the gun.
What did you do with it?
I left the car, walked over to Baja's house, went behind the house towards the backyard, and as I was going to shoot up his house.
What happened next?
I saw a little girl in the window. I turned around and left.
Where did you go when you left?
I went back to the car.
What happened when you got in the car?
Jimmy asked me what happened. I told him I didn't do it. He asked why. I told him I saw a little girl in the house. I think it was his daughter, and I wasn't going to shoot up the house. He was upset.
What, if anything, did he say?
Don't be wasting his time.
Did there ever come a time when you were retaliated against by Baja?
Yes.
Generally speaking, what kinds of things happened?
He set my barbershop on fire, shot up my Escalate twice, tried to kidnap my brother.
Can you describe for the jury what happened the first time they shot at your Escalade?
Yeah, we were followed through Staten Island, sitting, talking to a friend. One person walking on the right side of the vehicle started shooting into the car. A white van cut us off. The driver jumps out. A passenger jumps out. All three of them started shooting into the truck. And as I'm down, I see somebody come through the side of the doors of the van and start shooting into my truck. And they started to all get back in the van. I tried to put my car in drive and ran them with the back of the doors open, and a lot of shots came out the back doors into my windshield. I ducked again. Me and the passenger ducked again, and somebody started firing at them out the window in the projects, and they drove off.
Were you hit in that incident?
No.
Remind us, what color was the van?
It was a white van.
Did you learn whose van that it was?
Yes.
How did you learn it?
Jimmy told me it belonged to Tony Yayo's brother.
What about the second time that your car got shot up?
I had just left the barbershop and just put a gun inside the barbershop for those guys to protect themselves. And as I was leaving, I saw a guy standing by the store about a half a block away holding a bag. As I'm walking to the truck, he's walking towards me. I get in the truck, I start it up, I see him turn the corner, drop his bag, pull out his gun, and start shooting into my truck.
What did you do with your truck after it got shot up that time?
I gave it to some guy I had in Brooklyn to strip it and make it disappear.
Let's talk about the last incident you mentioned with respect to Baja. You said you tried to blow up his truck?
Yes.
Was that before or after your trucks got shot at?
After my trucks got shot up.
Whose idea was this incident?
It was my idea to make him lose the truck.
Why did you want to do that?
Because I felt that they were untouchable, that they were invincible, because they had all these bulletproof trucks. And I felt that was the only difference between me and him that made it harder for me to catch up with him.
Where was the truck when you tried to blow it up?
In front of his house.
Were you there by yourself or with someone else?
At that time, I was with Andre.
What happened with you and Andre?
The time it was blown up?
Yes.
We made some Molotov cocktail and he was going to throw it at the house. I was going to throw one at the truck, and he would fire the shots into the house and I would fire the shots into the truck. We were open that I would hit the truck first and open that he would come outside, or he was supposed to hit the house first with the Molotov cocktail.
Who is the he that you are talking about?
Andre. And hopefully Baja would then come running out the house that was on fire, and then we would ambush him.
Did that plan work? What happened?
Andre, in throwing his Molotov cocktail, burnt himself. But to me, it was more important for him to lose the truck than to set the house on fire.
What did you do?
I threw mine at the truck and shot up the truck and the house with it.
Next blog, I'm gonna be in Brooklyn. Next blog after that, I'm gonna be in Bronx. Next blog after that, I'm gonna be in Staten Island. Y'all know out there with y'all know what time. We be in Staten Island, we be in Harlem. Come on, son. Shooters on deck. Shooters on deck, nigga.
It's gonna be a cold summer.
I got Louis from Paris, nigga. I ain't got nothing to
Tell him, yeah.
It's gonna be a cold summer for y'all.
Cold summer.
Listen, we got bulletproof trucks, man. We made for this shit, man. You crazy, nigga. I ain't trying to glorify the beef, but when believe it or not, you see grass and all that shit. Look, you see grass and all that.
You want some Cali shit out here? Let's talk about it.
This is like Compton back here. Shot my mom's crib up like 22 times. Fifth got shot 9 times in the back block. Man, get hit back here. Yeah. You know, tried to kill my brother right here on this park right here. Yeah. Nothing. Shout to my brother, yes, we out here.
All those back and forth, but nobody dropped yet because 50 Cent of them are not easily accessible. 50 wasn't the type of guy you would catch in a club, even though he raps saying you can find him in a club. 50 moved militant, no unnecessary pop-ups and heavy protection around them, from the bulletproof trucks to the ex-Marines and military personnel he had as security. Even Whack 100 would attest to that.
You don't see them unless they want you to see them. And even if you do see them, when you see them, you can't get to them. He played with us on purpose. Like, yo, Whack, 50 he gonna be at the SLS hotel. What? Yeah, the little bar area over there. He gonna be and coming down. Paul Rule, we through there. This one is on. He pulled up in this motherfucking SLS hotel, coming that motherfucker, like 10 of us. We coming in this motherfucker, and I stop, I'm looking around. I'm like, something don't seem right about this scenery. Man had about 8 Navy SEALs, this shit in the air, just moving with the tactical head. They seen us, a bigger got the moving. They positioned around us, to look back at us and smirk. Yeah, we ain't got no win with that. See you later, homie. We ain't got no. He did that on the West Coast. He did that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Took a bag.
So it was all cat and mouse game between both camps till it came time for 50 Cent and Akon video shoot in Bayonne, New Jersey on October 22nd, 2007. 50 Cent's third album, Curtis, had just dropped on September 7th, 2007, and he had to shoot videos for his single. Henchman, who is thirsty for blood, is waiting on them in a parking lot nearby, ready to ambush with his silencer on his pistol. His adrenaline was all the way at 1,000 that he had accidentally let off a shot in the car, causing it to jam and malfunction while they were following one of 50's security team members from the shoot.
With respect to this incident, walk us through what happened.
We had found out that they were shooting a video. G-Unit was shooting a video somewhere in New Jersey, in Bayonne. And so we went over there. And when it was over, we followed one of the cars leaving there, which was the bodyguard. And on the way back to New York, and right before the Holland Tunnel, we ended up right next to him where Jimmy tried to shoot out the back window, but the gun jammed and it didn't go off.
When you got off the ramp, you said Jimmy tried to shoot.
Yeah.
What weapon did he use?
The same machine gun.
The machine gun he used to shoot Yayo's mother's house.
Right.
It's the one with the silencer?
Right.
What did you hear?
I heard a sound because after it like jammed, he was trying to, I guess, fix it, and it went off in the car. It shot through the floor. Sounded like a thud or something. Luckily for 50 Cent and them at the time, the plot wasn't successful. G-Unit dropped their Terminate on Sight album in July of 2008, their second and last commercial drop as a unit. This was, in my opinion, their best collaboration, as they all went super hard because people were starting to lose interest in their music. The album debuted at number 4 on the US Billboard 200 with sales of 102,000 copies in its first week. The Game drops LAX album on August 26, 2008, and it debuted at number 2 on the US Billboard 200, selling 238,000 copies in its first week. My Life, featuring Lil Wayne, was a dope single, and Game is completely abandoned as G-Unit attacks on Whack. 2 years go by, and Henchman gets information that Lodi Mack, who took the rap for Yayo, was coming home from prison. Slim, a member of Jimmy's crew, was locked up with Lodi Mack, but Lodi had no idea, and Slim befriended Lodi's bunkmate, who then lines Lodi up with Slim. Lodi didn't know what Slim looked like, but they kept communicating on phone calls, with Slim promising money and girls to help Lodi get back on his feet after release.
What crimes did you do? did you commit that caused you to be detained in federal custody?
Drug crimes and murder.
When did the murder occur, approximately?
2009, September.
And where did the murder occur?
In the Bronx, New York.
If you know, who was the victim of the murder?
Llowel Fletcher.
Did he have any nicknames?
Lodi Mack.
Did you participate in the murder alone or with others?
With others.
Can you please name for the jury who the others are who participated in the murder?
Brian McLeod, Derek Grant, James Roseman, and Rodney Johnson.
What was Roseman's role in the murder?
The orchestrator.
What was Grant's role in the murder?
The shooter.
What was McLeod's role in the murder?
He lured the guy dead.
The guy is Llowel Fletcher?
Yeah.
And what was your role?
The driver. 50 Cent drops his 4th studio album, Before I Self-Destruct, on November 9th, 2009. The album sold 160,000 copies in its first week, debuted at number 5 on the US Billboard 200, giving 50 Cent his 4th consecutive top 5 album in the US. Around this time is when 50 started pivoting into films, making many movies with the Crime Wave video and also the Before I Self-Destruct DVD. He'd been putting out visuals way back, but I believe this is when he started taking it up a notch. Back to the Henchman and the 50 beef. After the hit on Lodi Mack, 2 years go by. It's now 2011, and Jimmy was arrested along with his guys who eventually told everything that I showed here. Each side started pointing the finger at each other. Jimmy said he only wanted them to bring him Yayo and Fletcher and not to shoot them.
Brian McLeod to kill Llowel Fletcher. You know, one of the things that I did ask Brian McLeod to do was I asked him to bring Fletcher or Yayo to me. So took it upon himself and he killed Llowel Fletcher. So here's the most important thing out of this whole thing. I'm not the murderer here. The murderer in this whole situation is home. All he had to do was point the finger at me, and he went home. And I'm in jail for life when I never hired him to kill anyone. So, you know.
Oh, gee, Jimmy the Rat.
What 50 was referring to was the case Jimmy had in Cali back in the day. The New York Daily News also reported on it. But in an interview with the person that was allegedly snitched on, he claimed something totally different. The Game dropped his 4th album, the Red Album, in August of 2011. The album debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200, selling 98,000 copies in its first week, with singles Red Nation and Pot of Gold. Jimmy was subsequently convicted in 2014 and sentenced to multiple life sentences for both running a drug operation that brought in $11 million a year and also for the murder for hire plot on Lodi Mack. There's been this long-running rumor that Henchman had something to do with Tupac robbery and shooting back in the day, but I didn't see anything to corroborate that claim. What I did find on Jason Williams' superseding docs is where it states, cooperating witness number 3 further end Roseman's trust when, in 2005, he shot rival rap producer Suge Knight at Roseman's behest inside a crowded nightclub in Miami, Florida. That was at Kanye West's party, and the cooperating witness number 3 was none other than Trigger Happy Tef. 50 dropped Hold On in 2014 and references the case.
On the phone, I heard Ye smack the shit out of kid. Now Jimmy got life, go smack him again.
50 holds grudges, and I don't blame him. Somebody lost their life in this situation.
Sneaky niggas sprayed that semi at your mama crib with a silencer, we couldn't even hear the shit.
Throughout the years that followed after Henchman's incarceration, the Game has made numerous attempts to reconcile with 50, but Fifth is not ready or willing to be buddy with him. They eventually chop it up in the club, while 5th was in LA. Notice the guy to the left of 50 looking around. That's Monster. He was one of Henchman's main target. His house was shot up. Bulletproof truck blown up during the height of the beef. So his antennas were raised and he kept his head on a swivel. Can you imagine how big they would have been if Henchman wasn't in Game's ears? That whole beef split up the fan base while also generating a buzz for their albums. In the end, 50 diversified into film and television, and the game is still the game, and Henchman is doing life.
I want to apologize to the Massive for letting these sucker ass niggas catch me out there like that. I talk about suckers, I'm talking about those who perpetrated to be either my friend, who were wearing wiretaps, who got on the stand and lied. Man, I want to apologize to those that I let down for letting some suckers play me. And I just want you to know, man, that I didn't know.
So who won in this war? Let me know what you think in the comments, man. Until next time, peace.